Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to our panel discussion. Design, architecture, and format. The three critical pillars of future shopping centers. Creating a compelling and engaging shopping center experience for consumers. To be noticed, one must be different. Would anybody have given the Leaning Tower of Pisa a second glance if it had stood straight? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it all stems from great design. And by design, we don't really mean just putting pen to paper and getting out a sketch. It means entering the minds of the potential consumer and trying to find out what they'd like and like over a period of time before we even put pen to paper and design a shopping center, or as we would now like to call it, a social space.
We are just at good afternoon. Interesting forum, interesting panelist. I welcome you all for this particular session. The whole idea of this particular session is just to have little musty. Retail has become a very serious topic of discussion all over. And as you know, when architects, designers, and operators come in, then we always look out to give you something good. So let's hope we started with that particular thing. Now, shopping overall, uh, I feel that has become a compulsive phenomenon world over. India, unfortunately, fortunately, we're still treading the steps towards it, from infancy to the maturity stage. Western world has seen lots of matured structuring all around in this particular things. There are formats now of lately e-commerce formats, which are finding its own places in the global setup. Um, as operators and architects, designers, retailers, we all have a big challenge now. The challenge is to sustain the market, to be profitable, to live, to breathe. So that's the topic, underlying principle on what we'll start the discussion. I think everybody has been introduced. I welcome you all, panelists. And let's start with the first question. My first question is to Brijesh. So, what would you call, as an architect, the basic principles
Hello.
of successful mall design?
I mean, it's a difficult question in terms of successful mall design. The successful mall design just doesn't depend on design as such. We just have to follow certain principles which take care of a design. I mean, there are basic principles in retail which we have to take care in terms of the planning, the facade, how the composition of the shops are internally, and some of the touch points when a customer enters, how they feel the whole experience. We have to tell a story of the retail once they enter the mall. Shilpi, you want to add something?
Hi everyone. Uh, see, we do understand that every retailer and everyone thinking of that e-commerce thing would be difficult for malls and all that stuff. But actually, we have to go with the time. We should not forget there was a time when Fairy used to come to our house. So from that side to here, when we are multiple malls in multiple cities and things. So we have to be futuristic in terms of we should be open to technology and should plan our store keeping in mind technology initiatives should be taken care of. Yesterday we were talking about Raymond store, how they are so open and they thrive differently with their formats regularly. So everyone in the retail industry, they must be open, shouldn't be scared of e-commerce industry and all, and with open hand they have to incorporate design. POS will get replaced very soon, gradually, major percentage things will be delivered to your home. So these are all small points has to be taken in our retail design gradually. That's what I feel. Thank you so much.
So Shilpa has been involved in very strategic challenges in terms of running of or designing of a mall. For example, Elantra by L&T in Chandigarh. Um, Personally, when I knew that it was getting designed, I was wondering कि Chandigarh में इतना footfalls है क्या? So finally, we've always heard retailers talk about footfalls and people talk about creating some USPs to a particular product to sell it. But eventually, after so many years, I think they were able to do it and they were able to package a good deal, and the format was in the market. And I think it's one of very strategic landmarks in Chandigarh. Uh, Similar kind of projects, what they were doing were LNTC Woods, again a format in which population is just is 1.2 million in Navi Mumbai, and they're making a mall of 700,000 square feet. So there's a relation, there's always a challenge, but still I've seen these operators have some sort of USP which stays there. But I still feel, I think there's more to principles of mall designing. I mean, what you have talked as compulsive architecture kind of planning points, but I think Vivek is with us. Vivek can also share his thoughts.
Hitan, what happens, there are two aspects of any mall design. To make it successful, first, you need to ensure certain footfall there, and then converting that footfall into effective buyer. Now, these two aspects, if we cater properly, all the challenges can be overcome. If you just talk about architectural designing, we can create interesting spaces and we can invite people in. It has become very common nowadays that we spend in the mall. In fact, my children always they say, okay, last 3 weeks we were in Infinity, so this time we'll go to maybe Viva Mall, somewhere 14, 15 kilometers away from our residence. So it has become nowadays routine to visit a mall in weekends. So footfall is going to be there if the mall is good, the design is good. Now, how to convert that into effective sales? It is more of a marketing than architecture. Okay, we'll have to certainly go into that aspect. Probably these people are
please. I
better.
think that he has touched a very important chord. Is really a mall and more of a marketing thing than architecture.
Let me first introduce myself. I run malls. So, and I strongly believe in many things is that a beautiful body should have wonderful bones.
Yes.
So if your bones are not right, you cannot have a great body. No matter you go to the gym, you do exercises, you eat the right things, but अगर भगवान ने तुम्हें कुबड़ दे दिया तो है. So that bones is what are you people doing for us? Those lines which you draw on paper on which my retail mass develops. My retail mass develops on the very bone structure which you give me. So when I'm saying the successful mall, please consider that there are basics in the successful malls which have to be right. Like you should have visibility for all the retailers who have come in. It's not a Taj Mahal where people will come in and click photographs and go. They will come here to shop. So when they're coming shop, the ease of parking has to be there. Every step they should feel something new awaits for them. You know, it should not happen कि वो जा रहे हैं फिर वापस आके फिर दूसरी destination पे जा रहे हैं. This could not happen. It should be a racetrack wherein you know you're moving and every step forward is leading to your to an excellent destination wherein you know you feel अरे ये क्या है? You know, something like that. Then there has to be a mix these days which operators will tell the architect that I want 40% entertainment or 40% retail, 60%. So accordingly, we should plan those retails. The entry points should not be such that they clog the traffic outside and deter my other customers to come. So all these things are spoken about. On top of that, I should be able to change my skin. You know, what I say is this is retail, entertainment destinations have become like snakes. We have to change the skin every now and then. Otherwise, because in that 10-kilometer influence that I am having, that catchment area, they will come and we get dated. So when I get dated, I have to either change my floors, I have to upgrade my toilets, or I have to change a wall, or I have to embrace a technology which was not there 5 years back. So I should have room for that. You know, I should have that flexibility which my bones should have. You know, if my bones are very rigid, how will I be flexible? If I want to put a wall now, a digital wall, I should think 5 years ahead and see, kal ko agar ye aa jata hai, then I should be able to put that wall there. So, you know, there is a lot of flexibility that goes in design and there is a lot of thought process that goes in design. If I am giving you a tomb, how will I clean that tomb? So along with that, there should be a ladder wherein I should go, or give me a place where I should not be putting a scaffolding to change a bulb. It might look very nice today, but India mein itna dhool hai, I've operated.
Agreed.
So, you know, what is the solution? So it has to be, then compliance. If there are 40 toilets which have to be provided, see that they are tucked off. They don't kill my retail. So all those things have to be traffic management. So all that thought process, if that initial drawing is right, nobody can stop. Nobody can stop the retail to be a success if the right reasoning and the right.
Absolutely. So I've been very well captured. I think a good summary of all the architectural and the planning issues. The principles are now little visible, but I think I need more insight about how a good design would get evolved. My next question is to Payal. Do we actually look into ourselves as a consumer when we start designing it? Do we put ourselves in the feelings of a consumer boot? Because the strata of the people visiting malls is quite different. So we've seen in the market that we have various malls, like we have Saket, we have Hypercities, and we have so many different formats. So you are an interior designer. Do you really get involved in the kind of experience which a person consumes?
The first question I asked before even putting my pencil, on the paper is that would I like that? Would I use that? That is always my criteria whenever I have started doing anything. And even as a mall, even as a consumer, when I enter a mall, the first thing I want is that wow factor. Like, is it there? Is it like I'm going there to shop. I have some free time and I want to have a good time as well, and as well as have my shopping done. But if it is a dead mall, if it is not a happening mall, if there is no wow factor, if design, yes, definitely is a very design in a mall is more of a functionality, a structure which is supposed to be taken care of. But as a consumer, if I don't have a live mall in front of me, if I don't have the wow factor, if it is not adding to my shopping experience, then it's not an experience for me. It has to be the shopping, it has to be a bit of entertainment, it has to have some buzz happening, like the live work malls which are happening right now. So there is the office space close by, there is a residential, the whole live work malls that are happening, which have the commercial space, which have a residential space, and they also have the mall. So that is what kind of does liven the mall up and make an experience for that person entering into that mall.
So what would be the percentage of the consumers who actually wants a wow factor, and what is the percentage of people who actually want a shopping shopping schemes? For example, you always see a footfalls in a hypercity or hypermarkets or big bazaars to be extensive, and I'm sure the people who are eventually coming there, a complete wow factor may also refrain them for being
it's
comfortable.
Never a planned agenda when you go shopping, right? Like, so the minute I want to go shop, or if I have some time and I definitely want to buy something, I am going inside. At the same time, if I get that wow factor, it's an added advantage. It is adding that little spice to my 2 hours, or so there's never an.
So that means the design brief and the total structuring of a particular format should be very clear in terms of from operators. I think you have something to say.
Yeah, actually, I'm from Capital and we have got 104 malls all over Asia. I think wow factor is definitely something which we need to work on. But I think to answer your question, how much wow need to be there, it depends upon the location of the project. I mean, if it is in a second tier city or third tier city, I think we should design in that manner. Of course, if it is in the CBD in the first year megapolis, then we can actually spend more of our shopping mall budget on the wow factor. So the case in point is I have 2 projects where one of them is in Singapore. We have got it's under construction right now. It's a 2 years, another 2 years. It really has a wow factor. I just quote some of the things which we are doing. One is what we call as the forest valley. Inside the mall, it's like a forest for you.
Wow.
Then we also have a waterfall, which is a 40 meters vortex, which comes down, which collects the rainwater as well as sometime if there's no rain, the water is pumped. That's also a world's largest this thing. And I think the more important is the integration of the whole retail into this concept. So that's what we are doing. It is around, it's a pretty big project. we are constructing right
Very
now.
nice. So that means,
Yeah.
it's about what I can call it as a meaningful planning.
That's
So where we are
correct.
talking about sustainability at one end and we are talking about retail excellence. Wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
as architects, interior designers or operators, perhaps this can be one of the major features. As you really know that what we get killed is the cam charges and the big energy guzzler is air conditioning. So I mean, a feature like these where we have, a thought process like this where we create these kind of sort of features in which we can actually evolve and sustain all the infrastructure within the mall itself and recycle that particular thing to a use of the particular benefit, definitely would have an end reflection on the numbers whichever we feel are energy guzzlers. Nevertheless, there's always energy auditing and all those things which are coming into picture, because I think most of the malls which are happening right now are
Can I add to this?
Absolutely.
Very good question that you had asked is percentage of people would like to have wow factor and what percentage of people would like deals. Now, I will say 100% people want wow factor and 100% want deals. They have to be woven together. You can't do a successful mall without giving them a wow factor, and you can't have a successful mall without giving them deals. They have to be somehow, a marriage of two has to happen. Otherwise, the people who visit your mall, if you have a wow factor, they take pride in that. If somebody comes, they say, have you seen so-and-so thing? But it need not be that you are spending your cam on it. It can be a retailer, it can be a Smash, it can be a Ski, it can be a Madame Tussauds. So you have to plan your retail in such a manner so that the wow coexists with your deals. That is very important. Both wow you cannot snatch away from retail, because every mall has practically the same brands. So what is it that one thing different you will offer?
So that's good. So that means the total understanding of the requirements to go with the consumer is not limited to consumers itself. It's also limited, it extends itself to various other factors where you actually think about the whole running of a particular mall, the operations of a particular mall, and so on and so forth. Very interesting thing in most of the malls which we have seen is that the ambitions or to create a USP, an architect, designer or operator goes overboard, because it looks very good like a concept. And it looks like a wall. Or I've seen something in Dubai and I want to come and replicate this particular thing here. So, I mean, consumer would like to definitely have it in his city. But do you think it really works? Because there's always an operation cost to these particular things. So I think what eventually what we can conclude is that we have to have a complete balance of all these particular things put together to come out with a very mature and a strategic solution to as a mandate to an architect or designer when we start this particular thing. Now my question goes to Mahesh about strategy. I mean, tell us about strategy. I mean, what's your strategy? How do you start? What is a mall? How do you start? What do you think before you actually come out with a concept that either मुझे office space नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को retail space चाहिए. वो format क्या होना चाहिए? So how do you strategize these kind of questions?
A very good afternoon. I think I'm not a designer amongst this panel. The only claim to this dais is that we actually created a mall for designers. So way back, about 8 years back, we created Ishanya. I'll just request all the audience to actually take a step back and look at, when we design our malls or when we actually decide on putting up a mall as a developer or as an operator, the first thing we, I guess, need to do is look at the most important thing I see is to understand the culture in which we operate. I think if we know where the place that we are playing, then it makes the design of the mall far more useful. I mean, for example, one of the important things that, let's say, a city like Pune, where I come from, they enjoy their theater, they enjoy their plays, they enjoy their music. So one of the things that we integrated into the design of the mall was to have an amphitheater, and where we could have shows that close to about 2,000 people can attend. So we knew that that is something that the city of Pune liked. So trying to wed the culture into the design of the mall seems to be a very important point. Not only that, you also need to look at what the context is. Again, Pune has got lovely weather. So instead of creating a simple big box, we decided to have an indoor-outdoorsy kind of place. So we were able to actually be inclusive rather than exclusive. Ultimately, the design and architecture of a mall, and this is largely at a philosophical level in terms of strategy rather than at purely the operating level.
So it's important to look at if we need to sustain in a city, you need to know the city as much as you know your customer. So if you're able to marry the city's culture and also probably marry the way the city behaves as consumers. For example, again, another addition, you look at Pune loves to shop from high streets. So rather than probably look at just going into boxes. So then we immediately evolved a format of shopping where people could actually shop in a high street within a mall. So you had to look at these kind of, I would say, big piece or big ticket thought processes in terms of integrating with the city in which you live, on which you operate. Then you are able to get away from the esoteric design, but actually look at practical design. Of course, the tactical, the CAM costs, the operating cost, all of them are certainly very important. But if you're able to get the bigger picture in right at the beginning, I think then for us in whichever city we operate, we should be able to manage the consumer's expectations and then actually end up building a better image. And ultimately, I think a mall image leads to a success of a mall.
So that means the demographics and the typology of the environment, the urban environment makes a very important impact on a total business format.
Yeah, in fact, it is a combination of both, a mall design is a combination of both functional attributes and symbolic values. So I think the functional attributes are taken care of by almost, all designers and all architects when they actually take the mall into a design consideration. But probably what sometimes gets missing, I would say, are the symbolic values. So if you're able to capture the symbolic values of the city in which you operate, of the demographic in which you operate, then I think you have half the battle won. The rest, of course, is the retail mix and the whole communication piece, etc. You're talking of marketing. Those coming subsequently.
So do you would like to go with the culture of the population, or would you like to create a USP which stands out as a very unique feature for any consumer or a new concept in a particular city?
I think, again, building the USP is largely a function of, apart from whatever we have created as a space, it also depends on how and what you communicate. Right? The fabric and texture of what you communicate is very important to build the image. And as the image builds up, obviously the uniqueness comes in. So, typically
so
students
when you
of...
strategize a working of a mall, what's the time gap, what's the gestation period you look into, what's the kind of running you guys look into?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
When you design a particular concept and your mall is operational, so what is the gestation period for a particular
I
mall?
think,
What's like a life of a mall, you can say? Like she said, we have to keep on changing because we need to compete.
No, if I were to add, I've probably re-innovated. I don't want to use the term retrofitted. I've re-innovated my mall 4 times in the last 8 years. So, literally there's a cycle that we need to set in trying to capture those trends ahead of time. Look at the mega trends, then capture them, get them into on-ground realities, and then try to make them into actual, new formats that the consumer will engage with. So ultimately, that's a cycle that we need to be constantly vigilant about.
There is one thing we all must remember is consumer is never loyal, he's only loyal to his experience. So as long as we understand the consumer, I quite agree with him, we have the right design, we have the right format. If we do not understand him and we try to make our dreams come true on the land or on the paper, we are a failure. So we have to first study the consumer, what do they want, where do they aspire to go, are they bored out of the things or they want something new, then that is where the USP factor comes in. Or they are in love with their own culture and they want to be like that, then we can, kind of integrate the thing. So ultimately we are not building a Taj Mahal, we are building it for people. So we have to study the people and deliver them what they want.
Actually, don't you think it's...
Yeah, it has to be there. Yeah.
To incorporate all those changes as and when required. Like the culture part, I think it is so true. Like now, Bombay has come up with the flea markets. These malls, within malls, they have these fleas coming up over the weekends. I think it is so good because the weekends are so busy over there. They want to go and visit those small shops which are very, very creative, amazing products, and it's, again, a culture which is brought in.
Absolutely. You have something to do.
It takes away actually the...
What he's saying is right, we need to localize our malls. We need to cater to the local market. If you see Mumbai is divided into 4 zones now. There is one mall in Parel which works for the South Mumbai, then there is a mall in Ghatkopar which works for a different class of people, and there is a mall in Koregaon which works for different. If we can localize those malls, we can get some local flavors into it, either plays, concerts or something will attract more people inside the mall. I mean, we have to go beyond like just design or brands. if we have to get people inside the mall, because malls have become more of destination than just shopping now.
So my question again comes to the same fact again. When you talk about the strategy, and there is a strategy which is a pre-planning stage strategy, and second strategy is a post-planning. So we're talking about retrofitting. We're talking about initial strategy. Now there's something in between. You know, that's a mall has to run. There has to be a return on investments. So my question is, putting all these particular together, how do you ensure an operator, or how does an operator ensure that the elements designed by architects or planners or engineers synergize with their numbers? We have seen malls in Dubai, we have seen in Delhi coming, Gurgaon coming up, we have seen in US the huge chunk of volumes of plots. But at the same time, the footfalls which get converted into actual purchases. And against that, the running of a particular mall. So I can create a Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is a bad idea, it's a tomb. I would say if I create an Eiffel Tower or some other street, so would that ensure the purchases? Would that ensure business? So my question to about strategy is, what is that particular element? What's that spot which ensures that profitability?
See, I would like to add in here, if we ensured customers' ease, see, we can bring customer in, which is fine. Our formats, basic principles and everything always has to be taken care, mostly taken care. When we built a mall at that scale, generally all these parameters are well taken care by the designers and architect, mostly well taken care of. I mean, just leaving one or two exceptional cases. So in today's time, we have to ensure that customer is at ease. They buy stuff, but think about it. How he's gonna carry so much stuff from one shop to another shop and then another shop and then finally check out and reach to the basement level to his car park level. So from the retail point of view, to ensure that everything works right, we have to get into their shoes, understand from scratch level, think about their comfort, home deliveries, XYZ. There are so many parameters can be considered.
The number of years. What is the number of years you will give it to a business operator for knowing whether the concept evolved or designed is a successful concept or not?
Actually, based on our experience, I think the mall has to go through some sort of changes every 5 to 6 years. You have to put in the money in order because not only whatever the customer behavior changes, I think competition will come into the market as well. Because once you have another mall which give you that better facilities, as she said, I think customers are not loyal to us. They will just go to the other mall. So in order to do that, I think we really reinvent our wheel and try to see what can we do. In fact, we are doing one same changes in Bangalore today as we speak. So there are many things we need to do, but as I said, I think mall is definitely active management. You need to put in some sort of money aside in order to go through sometimes the difficult period. But I think that's also a skill, mall management skill, which is very important. How do you reinvent the entire thing? How do you look at from a different customer perspective and all? Whatever said and done, even though when we do the design of the mall, saying that I want to design for the future, but unfortunately everybody may not know what is the future. So you can take a view of maybe 2 to 3 years ahead of your time. But what happens is after a few years, definitely you need to reinvent the entire thing. You need to go back to the drawing board. But you already have a structure, like what she said, I can't change my skin. So you need to be very flexible design, but not easy. Let me be honest, because we also want to do everything. But sometimes redevelopment costs will cost us quite a high this thing. Instead of that, we need to tweak it so that at least we can regenerate that mall. So again, another example in Singapore is we have taken a decision to demolish the mall. So that's what we call as I want to build for the mall of future. So what we are doing today, we don't have any design for that particular mall. So we are actually going back to all the consumers. It's an IT specific mall, IT mall. So we are going back to all the younger generation to give us feedback. what do you want to see in this mall? So right now we are in that stage of collecting data before we really go and talk to the architect. So we are running that campaign right now.
Homework is important.
So these are all the things we need to do. I think nowadays everybody started understanding from a user perspective, design thinking concept. These are all things will matter. So there are many examples which we can quote on this, but I think I'll just give it to other people to say something.
Yeah.
Going by what Bharadwaj is saying, I think one of the important things about a mall is the partnership between the developer, who could possibly be the operator, and the retailer. Because the common objective, while there are transactions between these two or these three parties amongst themselves, the key objective is to get the consumer to come and utilize the space. So when it comes to USPs, there are two USPs that I can see. One is a designed USP, like the ski slope, or what you're talking about, the valley with green theme, the waterfall in the valley because you're harvesting water. That's a designed, invested infrastructure. But if you look at the ski slope or the aquarium at the Dubai Mall, it's a revenue generator and a footfall creator. So that there's enough revenues generated to maintain it and keep it up so that you know that it's always trendy, it's always where people want to go and see. If you want to see the most incredible aquatic life, you will go to Dubai Mall and you will see it. If you can't go to the Maldives or you don't want to go to the Maldives. And then there is the operational USP, which Payal was talking about, like the flea market. You know, so you figure out that people like certain things, you want a local element into a mall, get a flea market in. Get a band in, the amphitheater, the inside-outside experience. I mean, Bangalore, I'm from Bangalore, and Bangalore had this unusual experience of the hottest summer where the temperature was over 38 degrees and which was unusual. And the number of people who started going to malls have increased because of air conditioning. We want to be in air-conditioned spaces. You know, so you have these, so you can't, so coming back to the CAM charges and stuff like that, you have to give comfortable spaces for people where they have to be comfortable while walking and want to be there as well.
I've always, in fact, appreciated the endeavors by many operators by coming as ice skate rinks and you have aquariums happening. But I know there's some numbers going wrong in India. Why it is not caught up? Why these particular, are the operational costs too high? Or the value of space on which it is constructed, is it that too high? I mean, we are Mumbai, I think, a huge population, and we don't see such kind of things happening even in Mumbai. Is it that the revenue, the operators are so much fixed about the revenues out of the spaces, retail spaces, than to add such kind of USPs which can enhance the whole experience and make it a destination space?
And I'll take that question because I've headed amusement park for 4 years.
Good.
And there are two big amusement parks, that's also Wonder and Adventure Island. And I'll also touch upon your question on ROI. So now why are these spaces not successful in India per se is there is government to be blamed on that. 30% entertainment tax. And then on top of that, you need a higher maintenance on these. So as it is, my ticket price goes very high. Now, I talk about youth all the time. India youth, everybody's young, this. But how much of my youth is earning and how deep are his pockets? That nobody talks about. So if I put my ticket more than 500, there are hardly any takers. And if I put my ticket less than 500, I can't maintain the international standards. So it's a catch-22 situation which I am not able to keep up, and I decide, arre hatao, retail lagao, kiraya khao, bato. You know, this is the thing which is why government has to step in. In Hong Kong, in Singapore, government gives lots of subsidy to entertainment. So that is how these structures are very well maintained there. And that is how people get to see. It is something, and I have myself spoken to the government and I have written letters to them that this industry needs a lot of support. And that is why, and then compliance, then trained manpower, then safety. For one TUV surveyor here to find that TUV surveyor is a big deal here in India, wherein you can, get those dime a dozen outside. So all these are the challenges which our government has to look into. Now coming back to your question on ROI, which we have not touched upon, is when you plan, you have a green field and you say you want a mall and I am going, what is that budget? that should come into that I should spend 300 crores, 400 crores or 2200 crores on this property. It depends on the location. Because when you are building a retail space, you are building for two people. You are building for the retailers to come and perform here, and you are building on which you will generate the footfall. That footfall will buy from these retailers who will ultimately give you the rent. So there are two things, aspects. Is my location enough to generate that kind of revenue for my retailer to pay higher rent? If my per square feet rent, how much can you generate from that? It is 150 rupees square feet or 600 rupees square feet. And this much is my retail area. And if, suppose we normally take three years, ROI on 3 years, because our 4th year my mall is dated. अब जितना पैसा बनना है वो 3 साल में बन के बाहर आना है.
So that is the number I was looking for.
Yeah.
What's
So
your final?
3 to 4 years. Then what I will do is, this is if I have to offer this place to these brands, which my locality, because no brand is good, no brand is bad. Every brand is a good brand as long as the locality accepts that brand. If in a deep pocketed locality, if I put a very low market brand, it will not be accepted, and vice versa. If I put in a less deeper pocket, if I put a Zara there, it might not work. So if my brand is good and if I'm able to generate this much rev share, this much sales, because you have to be very calculative with your numbers. This space is your currency. So per square feet rate, how much you are going to generate from there? If that comes and then you calculate your ROI, and I cannot go beyond 400 crores, you should not go beyond 400 crores. You should tell the design team that this is my budget and you have to create a wow factor in this, you have to create everything in that. So it all depends on the location and per square feet sales which you are going to generate from there.
I'll just take a quick minute to add on, answering on the USP of trying to have let's say a skating rink or a snow park or whatever. Again, I think slightly a larger picture, larger view is that if you see the example that she cited, whether it's Dubai or Singapore or Hong Kong, most of them are largely tourist locations. Compared to India, where the malls are, especially, the frequency of visits by our consuming public to, let's say, a snow park or a Kidzania kind of place could be maybe once a year or maybe sometimes even once in 2 years. So to that extent, the cost of probably investment never gets justified because, hey, as you said, all you have is, I would say, compliances to take care of in terms of taxes. And over and above that, if you price the ticket, in order to ensure a certain, I would say, return on investment, it just doesn't work. As far as the ROI is concerned, I think good to see that somebody is breaking even in 3 years. So I'm not sure how many of our other friends are in 3 to 4 years. It's extremely, amazing stuff.
She's aggressive.
I'll take classes from you later. But I think a good figure would be somewhere around 7 to 8 years. And when we did our IRR calculation with a hurdle rate of about 16%, we found that we're not able to get anywhere near that with the kind of changes that we need to keep doing, and that's why I was talking of every 2 to 3 years if we end up doing, let's say, a re-innovation or whatever, and that takes about 15 to 20% of original capital costs. So, there's further capital sunk in, already over existing capital, which is still not given its returns. So you end up actually getting into a spiral. So I think the balance is pretty difficult to manage, and that's why close to 90% of Indian shopping malls today are suffering. So it comes back to flexibility of design. So I think the sweet spot is about getting the flexibility in design.
All are coming to us architects that you need to make a flexible design. So finally, सारी गलती architect की होती है. You have to start from there. Anyways, now the second question is, like, we see lots of technology happening. We talk about building management systems. We have various softwares giving solutions to mall management systems and all those things. As architects, if you were able to highlight, Vivek, that what would be a role of a technology in your perspective for an architect to incorporate it in the mall designing?
Technology can be used in multiple ways. The starting can be creating interesting spaces. Then you can enhance those spaces with high-end new generation materials. You can add some glamour or some vibration or maybe dynamism to the spaces by using technology like digital media, electronics, and the most important, maintenance. So if we take one by one, everybody requires that wow factor. Wow factor will always come with a volume. So always any successful mall you take, it will have some very interesting atrium or volume space. And the most important will be the roofing. So technology, maybe Teflon or maybe Calzip, these are, we consider them now as a first generation materials. You can also go for some composite roofing system, create very interesting environment. And then second it will be always that cladding materials. So which surfaces you want long lasting and less maintenance, and then which are the surfaces you want them to keep on changing, like the front lit hoardings or maybe wallpapers and whatever, the use and throw kind of disposable materials. Again, a lot of technology can be used there. The most important today, because we are into that smart age period, so you can use very interactive digital media. So many digital projectors, interactive digital projectors are there, 3D projectors are there. And now we can create that vibrant dynamism into the spaces. It keeps on changing. It is very easy to change digital media. It is faster. The options are more. So use of those technologies, they will certainly give that wow to the spaces, and every time you can give something new to the visitors. And as I said, the maintenance. We know BMS, we are using BMS for all types of building nowadays. So using just the BMS for maybe your firefighting and public address, that is very common. You can use it for actually giving some real experience to users. Integrating BMU, that is building maintenance units, into your roofing system so that you can access all the surfaces, facade surfaces, and the roofing to change maybe lights, maybe finishes, replace finishes. So that is very complicated. You have to do coordination with lot many agencies while designing itself. So I think using technology, you can create that experience right from the day first.
Right. Payal.
Before this session, I think there was this thing on the parking, online parking, reserve your parking in the mall. I think it was great.
Yeah.
I don't want to walk so much. I mean, my parking is somewhere so far away, and then I'm coming and then doing that whole shopping, carrying all those bags. No. If I know I am spending that 1-2 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday, and if I have that app, I think that's what the session was about. Malls having apps for reserving your parking. Awesome. Why not? See?
DLF already has.
DLF. So Delhi, I'm talking about Bombay. So yeah, I think that's amazing. You know, why not? And another, of course, you know, those kiosks where people are only finding which shop is. I think that needs to the index, or you know, that needs to be placed more frequently, or at more corners, you know, where I know okay, I want to go to the Zara's on the second floor, fatafat, I'm going there, finishing my work. Very, very interactive kiosk, which is, I think, needed and more will be used, I think.
What is Varun? Varun has not spoken anything about this.
So, I see technology as a different part of, creation with the shopping center designs. I mean, I see technology as can be used for more of an interactive thing, what we have been talking about. But it can be more of a social responsibility kind of aspect we can look into. I have seen malls, international malls, which have used technology as a part of design. The facade is from solar panels. The glasses they are creating glasses which gives more efficiency to the building. So I see technology as a part of architecture design, more into that. Of course, there's a lot of importance for the human interface. We are talking about screens, interactive screens and all. But as of now, whatever we are planning, we are creating boxes and then we are putting technology into it. We are not creating something out of technology as of now. So that is what the difference of the technology and the design is as of now. So we are putting in technologies at a later stage rather than using technology to create the designs.
No, actually, you're right. In a way, I'll come to you, Binu. It all starts from the concept stage. I feel technology today is a part people have, hijacked brick mortar kind of concept to a e-commerce kind of. They have just been getting hijacked. So everything has its own space. But however, technology has actually challenged and contributed towards another vertical in the market today. So we need to be with technology ahead of times to strategize our market standing and market feasibility. We are talking about operations, like Payal said about car parking systems. Somebody talked about like DLF has a online shopping app. Now, I feel, is it integrated well enough for a consumer? Or are we still fighting our own verticals and you have all 5 different apps coming down to simple levels? In US, I had an app which gave me a location in the huge mall I was lost. So we have an app which shares sort of any kind of promotions or any kind of things which keep on happening, which in India also, I think it's more through bulk mails rather than apps right now to that extent. It's not only limited to basic obvious things. I think technology is all about synergizing everything, putting it well together. Why can't a systems being happening, like you have like 140 malls, who said you're running 104 malls happening. So are these particular things connected? Is the experience of one mall being shared to the other malls? We are trying to create and give our budgets to individual malls for entertainment or for pulling in the users. But have we thought of synergizing these particular things put together? Can I experience what's happening in Delhi and Mumbai? Can I have the expenditure which is being promoted at one particular place being shared into some other 5 different malls all put together? Are we synergizing towards our new aim of being smart cities? First of all, are we smart malls? So that's my question. So now you tell me about this particular thing. Technology besides lighting, aesthetics, operations, billing. What can technology do? Let's think, let's innovate something.
I think for the future, technology is going to make the malls more flexible, how we approach it. Like Reno or they know, like we can't change malls every 3 to 4 years. I mean, they are brick and mortar, they're structures. I mean, we need to introduce technology to make them more innovative in sense how people are going to experience. Can we change the lighting to better the mood of the mall? Can we add some interactive systems? When we go abroad, we see a lot of interactive systems around in the malls, in public spaces. They help to increase footfalls. I mean, technology is going to help in that way. Apart from the retailers, way they are introducing technology within their shops, interactive, can a mall have their own app? When someone enters, can they see all the products on the app? It's going to help that way to increase the footfall and all. It's not just by building management system and all. It's one part of the mall. But to increase customer footfalls and all, it's going to start right from the where I park my car. It's going to be seamless. I enter the mall, the whole experience. Can I feel the mall on the mobile? Can I walk through it?
I don't know whether, whether it is being thought or not, or somebody is working on that design or not. Technology can be helpful in just recreating the entire experience of a mall, if you want. I don't know, I mean, it can even help in doing a flexibility of exchanging locations for all the retailers. What we are talking about, what Vino was saying, customer experience has to be changed in 3 years or 4 years. Now you can't change the entire mall, but maybe the entire format can get changed. I mean, why are the malls not so flexible in interchanging the locations of their retailers? Within the same retailers, within the same mall, we can change the whole experience of that. I mean, technology can be a part of it. You can actually relocate them, assign them locations, and you can redo that entire thing without changing the shell of the mall. So technology can help in that.
So here's my take on technology. See, architectural is my bone. Technologies are my nerves. You know, technology is the way I speak to my property. Technology is the way I speak to my retailer. Technology is the way I speak to my consumer. Technology is the way which is I'm speaking and interacting with my patrons who are coming inside. Bows down to technology, I love them. Because without technology, I am nothing. To make me more efficient, I have to integrate a very well technology. There are so many brains working behind how to make my mall more efficient, more energy efficient, which has to be there. Energy efficiency we have not touched upon, which latest my CAM will bring down if I'm more energy efficient. So how can I, in Delhi, how can I put away that heat? So I have to again embrace technology and put those insulators inside before building my mall, so that my lesser amount of HVAC goes to make it cooler. So this is one hardware, not changing the software kind of thing. As soon as he enters, I should be able to identify him. I should be able to say, hey Benu, hello, you're back again. So, the moment he swipes the card, I should know that he's the person, and I can map him. Oh, Benu likes to go to Chili's rather than Big Chill. So, hey Benu, do you know that Chili's is offering so-and-so things? I should be able to communicate, and this happens only through technology. So, the technology is one wing or one tool which is there, which I can feel, and I can make my most important consumer feel even better and greater. And now coming to the retailer, who is also very important to me, because I cannot neglect my retailer. He is the one who is actually giving me rent. He is the one who is actually giving me the CAM, not the person who is walking in, because the person who is walking in is indirectly contributing to my business. My prime focus is my retailer. So when I am becoming partner with my retailer, the technology speaks with that retailer, and I'm integrated in his POS. So everything, every single purchase that my second consumer is making, I know, and I can then direct him. See, from here he went to Zara, so interdependency of Big Chill and Zara can happen. They are not competitors, but they can have that, any offer in Zara should be displayed in Big Chill will give me more results. Because people who have who have shopped in Zara have gone to Big Chill. So all these decisions, analytical decisions, can be made based out of technology, and I can within the same space, if I'm very smart, I can give you more revenue. And if I'll go by the traditional method, ki itna per square feet mein chada diya, itna le liya, then maybe it is like, you are invested in equity or you are invested in debt. Absolutely. So it is a very challenging game which I enjoy playing.
Very quickly, I think just re-articulating what she said, I think technology is all about big data, and from what I heard a couple of years back, I think it's shortly going to become a reality. Data is going to become a balance sheet item. So if that be it, I mean, if we have to understand what our consumer wants, the first customer, the final consumer, whoever it is, I think if data, the big data, I mean, we need to capture those rich, deep insights about our retailer as a customer as well as the consumer as a customer. I think big data is all it is that technology is going to help us.
So that means technology is there to stay, and it's being an integral part of the whole systems of running. Some time back, I read a particular article. In fact, I experienced it myself. Vivek and myself were discussing about this. There's a new concept. Places like B-class cities or even developing cities, what happened was there was a time when we saw A-class players, let's not name them, but A-class players started creating these malls. So around 7-8 years back, so the malls and this particular concepts were a new fag in town, and these were like selling dreams, and they were giving the best of things happening. 7-8 years, in a decade, we are much more matured in what we are offering, and then we have so many of experts. But second round of things came in when the particular format was sold to somebody else, a B-class. So a B-class developer thought that I have a running mall and I have got foot space of 400,000 square feet or 500,000 square feet, and I realized that all these particular spaces are well enough, मेरे को rental अच्छा मिल रहा है, तो let's go to the bank, tell them to give me money and I buy the whole format and मैं rental income करके आप retire हो जाऊँगा. But this didn't happen only in 1 or 2 projects, it was a multiple phenomena which happened and which we saw in last 4 years, most of the malls closing down the shutters or reinventing a particular concept, which I call it retrofitting myself, in which we retrofit a particular thing. Shopping malls being converted into high street shopping experience, shopping malls getting closed down, converting into commercial spaces. So, I mean, what is it now? I mean, you guys must be getting lots of these kind of challenges from different builders or different developers. So Vivek, what do you feel? I mean, is it happening too often, or it's a rare phenomena today?
See, initially, when the shopping mall concept evolved from shopping center, it was very much Indianized, and they had a sale module of those small shops. Eventually, they found that this is not a mall. And then right now, we are going through a phase where all those failed modules are coming for retrofits. So either the small shops have been rearranged into bigger anchors, the overall module which was wrong in a way, but at least the good part was the column grid was correct because of the parking. So there is a lot of possibility where you can correct these models. Even I'm doing right now currently 3 malls retrofitting of the exterior in one city alone, Indore. So they want the exterior to be changed because initially when 10 years back they made those malls, it was kind of a fashion to use ACP in a very weird fashion, you know, all those critical shapes unnecessarily they were being added to the mall just to bring the character which is unique, and that was not needed. Over a period, when the study was complete and actually successful malls were constructed, and now these people are coming to a conclusion that this is not the character we wanted. So we are again going back, we are changing all those mall modules externally as well as internally.
But it's a phenomenon which is happening actually.
Yep.
Varun, what do you have? What's your experience?
Ethan, the most important question is why we require a retrofit of a mall. I mean, the whole story comes from there. When we start designing a mall, we get influences from the client side. They want a Hong Kong experience, they want a Singapore experience in Delhi, they want a Shanghai experience in Delhi. You put these materials, I want to create a wow factor, I want to create an out-of-box kind of an experience. I want to create a Taj Mahal for this. Then you put big commercials on your retailers, which gives them pressure for more of the catchment. Then you hunt for the catchment, you do the marketing and all. And then you create a footfall of 5,000, 10,000 cars coming in every day, right? And then your mall becomes successful. From the day your mall becomes successful, you start facing a problem of people entering into mall, lot of chaos in the mall. Then you start identifying that these are the problems which are going on. Can't all these things can be catered while we are designing the mall? Do we ask a question what happens when this mall will take its peak after 2 years or 1.5 years or so? And then we start identifying that what all problems will we start facing then. And then we work on those to start creating a mall design for that. In fact, I've seen a lot of malls which were very successful in Delhi NCR. And suddenly the rush has started decreasing just because you're standing in front of a mall and it takes you 30 minutes to park your car from the entry. So people have started going to the alternative options. And then we start looking at the restructuring of the mall, and then we talk to our retailers. They say that ROI is not coming out. People are not coming in here. And then we restructure the entire mall and we say, so talking about a retrofit, why do we need to create superstructures for malls? The most important question is, why can't be it's more simpler and more creative so that it can change the format in few years? Why do we create buildings like they are landmark buildings? It has to be interactive, it has to be more creative. I don't see a mall which is made of brick and mortar. I see a mall which can be an industrial building, complete. You can change the format in few years. I mean, why are these aspects not being thought of when we do the design? I mean, it's question to the developers and owners.
Is the man to answer this. He's
Right.
doing 104 malls.
Why are we creating so huge buildings which are?
Yeah, Gautam, no, you need to answer this.
Gautam was me.
Oh,
I think there is interesting case studies of redevelopment programs in New York where spaces have been converted to great public spaces. But then you have the other dichotomy, that's Dubai. You know, you start from the 80s where the old Dera was the shopping center, the gold souk of Dera and stuff like that. And then you had Dubai, and then you had City Center, which was, I still think City Center in my mind is one of the best shopping mall experiences in the world. You know, simple, straightforward, single-loaded corridors, visibility, great stores, and IKEA. Yeah, you know, you had a great anchor which worked very well with the rest of the stores. Then Dubai went into, the top gear and going into the Mall of Emirates with a ski slope, which became a symbol where when Europeans started coming to Dubai to ski during summer months and stuff like that. So you have, when you go into these kind of developments, then the thing is that you're building an asset which has to sustain for 30 years, because there's no way you can get your return on investment if it doesn't sustain for that. So you need to think through a lot. And the interesting thing is, and I don't know the answer for this, how is Mall of Emirates holding its own when Dubai Mall has come up? And there have been iterations, like there is this Ibn Battuta, which is a really interesting theme-based mall, but it was so long that if people went into one side of it, they couldn't go back to the other. So it just became a failure because of that one simple reason, because it's all ground floor shopping. So for refurbishment projects over here, if some of it fits into a concept which can adapt to the current scenario, one being it could be like a cyber hub where you can get in lots of restaurants to rejuvenate the place and make it interesting. But the other simple and the hard answer could probably be it has to revert to being an office building, or further it needs to be just demolished and redeveloped into another program altogether.
Okay. You have anything to say?
Actually, the success story, as he said, there are many things in Dubai, but I will touch upon our own, which is called Clarke Quay in Singapore. It's a food and a nightlife mall in Singapore. So, but I think if you have been there, what happens is in Clarke Quay was a dead space. What used to happen is not many people want to go there because it was not organized properly. So we had a chance of getting involved in that project. So what we did is first of all we put that canopy so that since it's an open space and we have a very strict conservation guidelines, so we could not do any much of structural changes. So we put a canopy which covers the entire this thing, so that during afternoon also people can come. So in addition to that, we have also used some blowers, the air conditioning blowers, so that at least our aim was to bring down the temperature by 3 degrees centigrade when compared to the overall outside temperature. Then afterwards we worked on tenant mix. Then we brought in a new international as well as local, many of the local tenants to this place. Then we started controlling the tenant mix. So today, I think it is one of the must visit nightlife. If you want to go and hang around in the evening, like Cyber Hub, this is Clarke Quay example, which is fronting the Singapore River. It is a fantastic example of how we can regenerate a particular mall.
Great. So guys, I mean, concluding to these particular things, I think it's really a serious business. 10 years back, 12 years back, we used to look mall as a very simple sort of strategy that you give an architect, भैया मेरे को मेरा 24 acre का plot है, इसमें एक mall बना दो. So now we have evolved to a particular strategy where we have to evolve all our data of our successful business in and around area, the demographics of in and around the particular area what we settle down with. I don't know why nobody has touched the importance of back of the house in the malls. Back of the house can create or fail a particular mall in any way. Like you have things coming up in IKEA, food courts or something, the people who are operating it would realize about how important it is for a people to design a back of the house mall. Earlier malls which are closing down, retrofitting had a major flaws in the designing in terms of understanding of the circulations or understanding of the business model of different vendors. Simultaneously, a basic platform need to be required to be given in terms not only by architects in planning but also by the operators on which the whole portal runs, the whole game runs. We got a very insights of this particular thing, how statistics can be evolved through softwares and the sales if we synergize the whole running of a mall into a particular thing. We did understand that retrofitting is not only due to the failure of the project, it also is to enhance the whole experience and give a new life to a particular settlement or a new mall. However, with all these particular things, we come to a particular a fact that mall cannot be defined as a shell of brick and mortar. There are different formats which are existing. People are converting from inward-looking mall, inward experiences to outward experiences. So all the particular mixed developments which are happening today is the combination of a successful retail, mall, commercial, and all those kind of things. Standalone malls, whatever we see, have a very great USPs, maybe a strategic location, maybe a particular product which they offer, or whatever, but they have to have a particular USP. Now with this, I would like to thank everybody, and I would like to open this particular session for any question answers from the audience. We have another 5 minutes or 10 minutes? You're telling me 5 minutes or 10 minutes? So give me the timings first, how much time we have for, so 5 minutes, okay. So she wants to answer more, you can catch her later on, we'll keep it at 5 minutes. Please, introduce yourself and... No, you need a mic? Good. No. Women power.
All would like to hear you, ma'am.
I said women power. She doesn't need a mic.
I have 4 questions. Actually, 2 of them are general. One is for the lady in white. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Renu. You had said about visibility of the retail shops when you walk in is very, very important. You have to keep that in mind. But what I think you need to also keep in mind is that in a shopping arcade, women with small children or senior citizen, go there for shopping. They really can't go all around to go down the road or down the escalator or up the escalator. I think that should be kept in mind. In some of the malls, that is what is happening. So then, you kind of don't want to go to that mall when you are a certain age and with children. So I think that has to be kept in mind, that all retail cannot be looked at. Am I right in that?
I'm in total agreement with you that not only malls, every property, every commercial property, every other property, every hospitals, this should be in mind that we will have visitors who will be carrying children, or we will have old and senior citizens who would like to come, and the convenience of those patrons should be woven into the design. But keeping in that mind, also we should still have the visibility of the retail, because primarily I am making malls for even the senior citizen, or the lady who is coming with the child is also coming here for shop. So the moment he or she enters the shopping complex, she should know, and all the retail should be visible. So this is where the design efficiency has to come in. See that they are ushered in very well.
Also, another thing is, I find what architects and interior guys have to look at is that I find none of our malls in Bombay especially are really catered for people who are on wheelchair or walkers. They are physically challenged. I don't think in India
I take pride in saying all DLF malls are designed to handle this.
And another thing is that, sorry.
Malls in Mumbai have some funny situations with the management. Architects have designed a particular seamless travel for all special needs of different categories. But somehow, because of security or XYZ reason, whatever, it gets closed down. So I think it's more to do with the operator's point of understanding how it is required for this particular thing. Average waiting time in a mall in Mumbai is minimum 7 to 9 minutes. Can you imagine if you're running late for a movie, or if you go upstairs, you actually wait for 10 minutes. So another thing is, how do you do the efficiency of the lifts and the vertical circulation? Like escalators are one of the options, but special need people do not use escalators. Neither they can use staircase. The optimization of lifts needs a important chapter in kind of when we design malls.
We have to keep that in mind, and I think here the government should step in and say that a commercial space will not open till the time we cater to physically challenged people. That has to be there.
All right. Another thing is, the last 2 days I've been here, I think there is a little bit of disconnect between malls and shopping arcades. I think everybody's talking about malls. In a city like Bombay and maybe other cities where land is going to be so difficult, malls per se, it not be possible. We have 2 distinct places. One is a mall, which is a destination place. One will be a shopping arcade where you have your clothes, retailers, and convenience store. So I think, there's a little disconnect in that. Everybody is talking one for the other. So I think that should be kept in mind.
That needs lots of feasibility to be done by the operators. What happens is that I said you have to start with a good homework. If you have a good homework, if you have studied your neighborhood well, if you have read your formats well, it definitely is a success model. What has happened in the last 10 years, there is lots of research which has happened. One community comes and starts making a mall. They don't know shit about what the mall design is, but they start making it mall. They do not understand what is the difference between a Manish Market, or Manish Market itself is a very successful model in retail. So I don't know why would we take it otherwise, but unfortunately things happen, we try to mix them.
Okay, now one last question to Mr. Bharadwaj. About 8 years ago, I remember I'd gone for one conference where one of the foreigners who'd come here said that for a retailer to be successful and get a certain amount of profit every month, he cannot be paying more than 55 rupees per square foot rentals. Has that changed, or what do you think is
No, ma'am, it is not like that. It is at least, there is something known as percentage. So, 14% of your revenue is your occupancy. If you're more than 14%, then you're making less profit. So you have to curtail it round about that figure, 12%, 14%, 15%, 16%, that's it.
Actually, what we call as the occupancy cost is the total outgoing he is paying versus the sales.
Yes.
So in this case, what happened is every category has got a different occupancy cost. If entertainment means he may be paying a little bit lower, a little bit higher, then the F&B is a little bit higher. So every category as a mall management, I'm sure everybody knows that there is a standard.
I'm not talking about entertainment or food. I'm talking about retailers where they do clothing.
Okay. Every brand has got what we call as a healthy occupancy cost.
Okay.
So if they exceed it, that means to say that
that's what I'm asking. What should the average be?
Okay, it depends upon the revenue they generate as well as the location of the mall. I mean, sometimes in the first tier city, they can pay a higher occupancy cost. In the second tier cities, it may be lower because it depends upon how much profit and what is their model.
Boss, I agree with you completely what you're saying. I'm not getting my answer. What should an average retailer pay in Bombay per square foot for him to be viable in that particular location?
A flexible model which is dependent on your revenue. Gone are those days where we used to have a fixed rental. Now it is a revenue percentage.
It's always revenue sharing?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else, please? Gentlemen.
Anybody else?
The basic worldwide ratio is between 9 and 12%. So if you do revenue, it don't matter. 9 to 12% is going to be occupancy cost. So if it's 9%, that means the developer is actually losing out. And if it's 12%, that means the retailer is on a very fine line. I would love to do 14%, anytime.
I think that was a good insight.
Okay, that's
Anybody else, please?
I'm going to switch to DLF to do 14%.
And she has a 3 years turnout time.
all right, Sanjeev. I was just generalizing it. I didn't want to go that technical,
No issues. Anybody else, please? Any further questions? Should we wrap it up now?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everybody. It was a great honor. You were a good audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A wonderful session. Please put your hands together once again for all our panelists.